Western independence in the long run will be of benefit to all of Canada. I know that might sound a bit like blowing sunshine up people's butts who are worried about the state of Canada and things, but don't worry, I'll explain and go further on that, because that's a part of what we have to make as our case as advocates for Western independence too. Look, most of us, we're not in a position, we don't hate Central Canada, Eastern Canada, Ontario. We don't wish them ill. We just want them, we want to be separate from them. We want a new deal. We want a new contract. We want our independence, our personal freedoms. They can do whatever they please. The problem is the system right now makes us adversarial and at each other's throats. So there's one spot to look at. If we're on our own turf, we don't have as much reasons to be fighting with each other. We can actually get along better. I know everybody kind of knows some couples that never should have been together in the first place, and they actually get along better after the divorce than they did while they were stuck in the same bedroom together, didn't you? Some of this came to mind, when I went to Regina the other night for a rally there. It was packed. I don't know what it was. I was standing on the stage. It was 500-600 people. Fantastic. Great, responsive folks. Lots of questions and very enthusiastic. But it reminded me, because it's still a bit different. I was chatting with folks. I spent more time asking questions from the stage, or tried to, than telling, because things are a little different in Saskatchewan. We have those different cultures from province to province, and the needs are very similar. Saskatchewan's very close to Alberta, not just geographically, but culturally. But they've got their differences, and we certainly have our differences with Ontario, Newfoundland, Quebec, of course, Lower Mainland BC. So, apart from the aspect of just a new federation or, post-federation, could we be getting along better with each other? The other thing is Canada's system. It's almost colonial style system. And I don't like how that term colonialist is thrown out at everybody on the ground because of, indigenous activists and lunatics and things like that. No, I'm just talking about how the outlying provinces tend to be treated like colonies that are there as resources to feed the center. But what happens if you're constantly pulling from another and feeding the center? Well, you can get lazy, to be honest, to be blunt. And you don't take full advantage of your resources at your own place. You don't have to. The most blatant example is, of course, Quebec. It pulls in tens of billions, over the years, hundreds of billions of dollars in equalization. And that allows them to have giant social programs, government inefficiencies they can absorb, things like that, while they've got a huge natural gas reserve in their province that they refuse to develop. They refuse to. You know what? Cut the apron strings. Stop the equalization, and look how quickly that resource will get developed in Quebec. You can count on it, because they're going to have to figure out how to pay the bills somehow. As well, Canada as a whole has a stunted economy. And when you look at the studies, the GDP per capita, of course, is plummeting. And that's for all Canadians, not just the West. Like, our economy is going to the toilet. We're trying to save the West and break out here, and we will. But what's going to happen out east? Like, if we stay in the current trajectory, we're all going down. If the West becomes independent, the West won't go down. And in the short term, there's no doubt it's going to hurt Eastern Canada. But in the long term, it'll be better. Think of the why Canada's productivity is so low when compared to other countries too. We've spent all this time on entitlement, all this time moving money to people rather than people to the money. When Alberta was booming, we had some great people coming over to work from Newfoundland, Nova Scotia. A lot of them stayed here, made Alberta their home. But a whole pile of them got preferential EI treatment so that they could just keep working the minimum out here and then going back and then draining for half of the year back on the East Coast. How does that help economic development for the country as a whole? Alberta ends up with a transient labor force, and Eastern Canada has a population that actually doesn't really have the industry to sustain. Or again, maybe there's more creative industries and things that could have come up, but when you're artificially maintaining an economy, as with Quebec, then you don't develop those things efficiently. When those opportunities dry up, you suddenly find yourself more creative, because they're very hardworking people, creative, smart, so they'll do fine. But we got to change the relationship. Likewise with Ontario, productivity, things like that, they'll change. And the resources can be shared. I mean, we can have trade back and forth across the country. People talk as if, again, the day after independence, that we'll stop talking to each other, the country of Canada will disappear. It won't. It's just the contract and the borders is going to change. And maybe we can negotiate better trade deals now, because we don't have good interprovincial trade, as independent partners with each other, and that will make us more efficient. Because the other part is, so when Canada's messing around, not allowing people to naturally migrate to the areas where the labor is required to fill the void, what did they do? They opened the mass immigration floodgates. So now you're pouring people from all over the world, and not well targeted. Immigration's good when you do it right, when you do it targeted. But when you're just opening the floodgates, we cause a catastrophe, and that's what we're dealing with. And then all of Canada is running short on healthcare resources. All of Canada is dealing with housing crises. Why? Mass immigration. But we can't break out of that rut. We can't break out of that cycle because it keeps feeding Central Canada in its current system. When a province becomes independent, the system is going to change. It's going to change radically and suddenly. But then it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to redraft things, not just for the West, but Central Canada, because things are going to be radically different all of a sudden. There's no reason that the whole country of Canada should not be the richest place on earth, most comfortable, peaceful, socially as well, strong. But I mean, again, when you've got mass immigration and poor integration, socially, we're turning into a basket case as well. We have the resources. We have the land space. We have the skilled workforce. We have, for now, relative peace. But we have a broken system. That's why the nation's economy is swirling the toilet, despite all of these resources, despite all of this potential. So if we can't change it from within, we've got to change it from outside. And independence will be the path to that. That's where we can crack the system. We can change it. Imagine how they're going to have to reevaluate things. Alberta, Saskatchewan, they'll still need labor coming in. They'll still need new immigration from different areas. But if we're drawing predominantly from Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, taking their best and brightest, well, then they'd better aspire to make things a little better out there. Or perhaps, actually, and I know people don't like to hear this, perhaps they need fewer people there. Look, I'm a lucky guy. I was raised in Banff. I grew up out there. Graduated in 88. And then I fled to Calgary. Love Banff. Love the mountains. But it doesn't mean I'm entitled to spend a whole lifetime out there. If there isn't work out there to sustain what I want to do, why does the world owe me money to stay and reside there? It doesn't. So I moved out to find a better living for myself. Because it reminds me of a CBC story some years ago. They were interviewing people in Newfoundland of a town that was dying, and they're screaming, "We're entitled to stay here. We're entitled to stay here. We must stay here. You must fund me to stay here. I know there's no industry here, but we got to be subsidized so I can stay here." Why? It's sad, but why? You're not entitled to stay there. Humanity moves to where the resources are. We must. And the people out in the towns, like the one I was listening to those interviews on, they've either got to develop a local industry and find a way to stay, or they got to move. That's just the way of it. So if we're looking at the big picture, we're looking at the long run, we're looking at Canada as a whole. I mean, we're looking at the West. That's what's coming first. That's why we're becoming independent. Who knows, but when we're looking in the long run, it'll be better for everybody. It really will. And, we'll set the stage. They can follow our economic development and realize how much better it can be, how much better it should be, and how much better it will be. So again, getting back to that positive messaging, and back to the statement again that from Quebec, we took it from them. Yes, and it becomes possible. That applies to all of Canada with a referendum vote. And there's a gentleman who sent me a bunch of images he made with that theme written on it, and I'll run a few through this video here and show a few of them. Because these are things we can do on the ground, right? These are things that social media spreading it, staying positive, looking at what's better on the other side of independence, and it will be better, much better, because staying the status quo is only getting worse and worse and worse. And as always, you haven't yet, consider picking up a copy of the Sovereigntist Handbook. Gotta make my plug. It's got all of this kind of information in it and more. It's the how on becoming independent, as opposed to just the why, which we've got a lot of good reasons for as well. And again, you'll get all of that information from these videos. Those live rallies, they've been getting busy. Clayton Foster down in Turner Valley has been holding meetings. They've been getting busier. The grassroots movement is taking off excellently. And there's one coming up on June 14th in Red Deer. It's a Rebel Town Hall. I think they got room for 1,200 people. They'll probably fill it up. Maybe check them out. I'm going to be speaking at that one too. And there's going to be people going. It's an all-day thing. And we can really get a lot accomplished in moving towards independence. So again, think about that. It's good for everybody, guys. Not just us. It's good for all of Canada. But we got to deal with us first.